this is Teacher Darji and I would like to share to you the learning activity sheet in Mathematics 7, Quarter 3, Module 1, Week 1. And for this week, it is entitled Point, Line, and Plane. At the end of the week, after performing all the learning tasks, you are expected to learn these 3 learning competencies. First, represents point, line, and plane using concrete and pictorial models. Second, illustrates subsets of a line. Third, classifies the different kinds of angles. And this learning activity sheet is divided into 3 lessons. Lesson number 1, the 3 elements of geometry. Lesson number 2, segments and their measure. And lesson 3, it's all about angles. And to begin, let's have first lesson number 1. In any mathematical system, definitions are very important. Elements and objects must be defined precisely. However, there are some terms or objects that are the primitive building blocks of the system and hence cannot be defined independently of other objects. In geometry, these are point, line, plane, and space. There are also relationships like between that are not formally defined but are merely described or illustrated. In Euclidean geometry, the geometric terms point, line, and plane are all undefined terms and are purely mental concepts or ideas. However, we can use concrete objects around us to represent these ideas. Thus, these undefined terms can only be described. I'll show you this table. First, we have the point. And the point can be represented by a dot. A point suggests an exact location in space. It has no dimension. And we use a capital letter to name a point. And in this case, we use letter A. So, we name this as point A. We can use any other letters. Next, we have line. A line is a set of points arranged in a row. It is extended endlessly in both directions. If you notice, the line here have 2-headed arrows. It is a one-dimensional figure and 2 points determine a line. That is, 2 distinct points are contained by exactly one line. We may use a lowercase letter or any 2 points on the line to name the line. For example, here, this line, we can name this as line M or line RV or line VR. Next, we have plane. A plane is a set of points in an endless flat surface. And there are 4 ways to determine a plane. First, 3 non-collinear points. Like for example, our ceiling. Usually our ceiling has 2 light bulbs or 3 light bulbs. So the ceiling where this light bulb lies can be considered a plane. Next, 2 intersecting lines. Let's say the beam of a building. Okay, they are connected. When these 2 beams intersects, then they lie on the same floor or in the same plane. The third one are 2 parallel lines. So let's say the edges of the table, the edges of the blackboard, they lie on the same plane or plywood. Then fourth, a line and a point not on the line. So for example, the light bulb and the beam of the ceiling. Okay? Of course, the beam of the ceiling and the light bulb lie on the same plane, and it is the ceiling, which is considered plane. We also use a lowercase letter or at least 3 points on the plane to name the plane. For example, in this case, we can name this as plane PQR, plane RPQ, or we may use lowercase letter. Now, I think you're ready to perform learning task number 1. Wherein you're going to identify the objects representing the undefined terms. So kindly refer to your learning tasks, your learning activity sheet that were given last week. Okay, so these are some of the objects around us that could represent a point or line or plane. Place each object in its corresponding column in the table below. So these are the objects that you're going to put under the column that represents a point, line, and a plane. I'll give you an example. Let's say the star in the sky. Does it represent a point, line, or plane? Okay, obviously, it represents a point. And for the line, we have our hair, a strand of our hair, the horizon, the light post. Okay, and for the plane, our floor, our ceiling, wall. Okay, so I have here an item which is really challenging, like this one: intersection of the front wall, a side wall, and a ceiling. So try to look at your house there. Of course, your house have walls, 4 walls. So you have a front wall, you have the side wall, and the ceiling. So where do you think these 3 are connected? Is it a point, line, or plane? That is learning task number 1. Now, let's proceed to learning task number 2. In this figure, you have there a lot of points, and there are some lines. Okay, and of course there are also other figures. So you're going to identify what is being asked. You're going to write your answer in the space provided every after item or every after number. Let's say number 1. Name the point or points in the interior region of the circle. So first, forgive me if my circle is not really perfect because I really drag it too much. Okay, so when you say interior, it's inside. So you're going to write the points which is found inside the circle. And there are 3 of them. That's already a clue. Number 2, name the line or lines in the interior region of the triangle. I can see 1 line there. And the question is, how are you going to name it? Number 3, name the plane that can be formed by 3 points in the interior of the circle. So since there are 3 points, it must be a triangle. So you're going to name that using the 3 points. 4, name the points outside the circular region. So you're going to write all the points in the plane M outside the circle. And I think there are 7 of them. Next, number 5, name the points of plane M. There are 10. So that's really a big clue. So no one will get 0 on this. That will be all for lesson number 1.